Namaskar, all of you. Welcome to this session. We have embarked upon a very interesting topic that comes in Vyasa's commentary while discussing the Ashtanga Yoga as a cause and effect by way of Ashuddhikshaya and nadipti. So we can see the cause and effect relationship, and there we are dealing with beautiful discussion brought by Vyasa in his commentary. He mentions 9 causes or 9 cause and effect relationships in the realm of metaphysics and philosophy. And the science is interested in cause and effect relationships, but that is in the material realm, because the science, what we call today as the physical sciences, the physics, it is material science. And in material, the cause and effect relationship is very important to be identified and discovered. But in the realm of philosophy, that is something to do with the very life. And in the realm of metaphysics, the scientists, as metaphysicists as scientists, discuss cause and effect relationships of 9 kinds. So Vyasa introduced us to this Utpatti, that is birth or originating cause, Sthiti as sustenance cause, Abhivyakti as manifestive cause, Vika as mutative cause, Pratyaya as knowledge cause, Prapti as attainment, and Dhruti as support, Viyoga as separation, Anyatva as differentiation. So these are the 9 causes. He brings a quote or creates a couplet. Utpatti sthiti abhivyakti vikara pratyaya viyoga-anyatva dhruti-saha karanam navadha smrutam. And there we are discussing these, and we discussed the Utpatti Karanam. We also discussed the Sthiti Karanam, and the Abhivyakti Karanam, manifestive cause. About now, this is the 3rd cause that we have to discuss today and proceed from here. Abhivyakti Karanam is manifestive cause. So Vyasa describes this. Abhivyakti Karanam yatha rupasya alokas tatha rupa jnanam. So the rupa jnanam in the visual realm, the knowledge of form, that is size, shape, color, dimensions. There, how do you get this knowledge? Alokam, prakasham. You won't have this knowledge of form, which is a visual perception, when it is pitch dark. We need light. We need illumination. So the illumination gives rise to Rupa Jnanam. You cannot have Rupa Jnanam in utter darkness, pitch darkness. We need light. The eyes or the visual organs only perceives something that is illumined or illuminated or illuminating. So, alokam, the prakasha, is manifestive cause, abhivyakti karanam, for rupa jnanam. The light and consciousness are manifestive cause of color and form. So, our consciousness and light. So, these two give rise to perceptive knowledge. Then you can also deduce, in case of auditory object, again your mind consciousness should be there, and there must be sound. Auditory object. So, auditory object is perceived by consciousness and the auditory organ. So, the sound manifestation, shabda manifestation, rupa manifestation, rasa manifestation, the jnana of the nature of shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, which is in the realm of materialistic objects. So there, that knowledge of that perception comes up, and that is based on Abhivyakti karanam, manifestive cause. Then the fourth is Vikara karanam, the formative or mutative cause. So Vyasa says here Vikara karanam manaso vishayantaram yatha agni pakvasya. So he describes this Vikara karanam, mutative cause, like it happens to mind. When the mind goes to Vishayantaram, when the mind goes to distraction, the mind is muted. There is a mutation in the mind which is caused by distraction, or what is called as Vishayantaram. So the mind is mutated, there is a mutiny in the mind or transformation in the mind because of Vishayantaram. The another example he gives is a kitchen example, Agni Pakvasya. The fire, the temperature would be cooking the cereals for it to become rice. So cereal to rice transformation is because of fire, which is a cooking process. So that is called Vikara Karanam. Like you put something in the water and that its form changes. You put something in fire, its form changes. So that is to be considered as Vikara Karanam. Then Pratyaya Karanam, cognitive cause. Pratyaya Karanam, Dhumra Jnanam Agni Jnanasya. So this is a cognitive cause, and the example is when you look at smoke, you get the dhumra jnanam. The dhumra jnanam is because of agni jnanam. You have knowledge about fire, that the fire turns out fume, and that knowledge is support or is a cause for you to know by somewhere fume you deduce or infer fire. Dhumra jnanam. Otherwise, you will not get dhumra jnanam. You will never have otherwise the knowledge of smoke. Not having knowledge of fire, you will never have knowledge of smoke. So only when you have knowledge of fire, experienced fire, knowledge of fire, knowledge about fire, you will also have knowledge of dhumra. It is not that first you get dhumra jnanam and then agni jnanam. You first have agni jnanam and then dhumra jnanam. That is called pratyaya-karanam. Then the sixth one is apti-karanam, attainmentive cause. Attainment. So the example is prapti karanam yatha yoganganushthanam viveka-kshyatehe. So the sutra has told us about yoganga anushtanam resulting into viveka-kshati. That is attainment. You would attain viveka-kshati by Ashtanga Yoga anushtanam. So therefore, Yoganga anushtanam becomes prapti karanam for viveka-kshati. And this you can find in the sutra. So apti karanam kind of effect of Ashtanga Yoga is mentioned in that part where Patanjali tells us by Ashtanga Yoga anushtanam yogi gets viveka-kshati. And of course, you know that other effect is also mentioned. By Yoganga anushtanam, there is ashuddhi-kshayam. Ashuddhi-kshayam means that is Viyoga-karanam, discussed earlier. So, point is, since Ashtanga Yoga works in two ways, one as Viyoga-karanam for ashuddhi-kshaya and prapti-karanam for, or apti-karanam for viveka-kshati, the whole discussion has come up in the light of that mention which comes in sutra. And of course the seventh karanam is Viyoga karanam, and we have discussed it already, and just now I gave you the recollection of it. So Viyoga karanam tadeva ashuddhehe. Ashuddhi is removed by Ashtanga Yoga. So Viyoga karanam tadeva ashuddhehe. So whatever happens to ashuddhi, that is because Ashtanga Yoga is a Viyoga karanam. It is separative cause. It separates the ashuddhi from chitta. So that is how the seventh kind of cause is mentioned. So also in our worldly life, we experience that if there are lots of mosquitoes in your room, you put a mosquito repellent. And with mosquito repellent, the mosquitoes get away from you. So that is the Viyoga karanam, that's how it works. So it can be understood how Viyoga karanam works, and we have taken the example of the axe and the wood. The wood is cut into two pieces by axe. So this was discussed earlier. So it separates a piece of wood from log of wood. That is Viyoga karanam. The eighth one is Anyatva karanam, differentiative cause. So how is this to be understood? Anyatva karanam yatha suvarnasya suvarnakaraha. The goldsmith gives different forms to gold metal. So who is goldsmith? Goldsmith is one who gives different forms to metal gold. Bangles can be turned into necklace, necklace into bangle. So that's the anyatvam, the otherness. So he changes the form of gold into another form. Alankaratvam, from piece of gold, and from one alankar to another alankar, from one ornament to other ornament, or the chip of gold into ornament or ornament into chip. He transforms them. So that is the Anyatva Karanam. So that is the eighth cause, or eighth kind of cause and effect relationship. Vyasa gives one more interesting example here. So he says, he quotes there, एवं एकस्य स्त्री प्रत्ययस्य अविद्या मूढ़त्वे द्वेषो दुःखत्वे रागः सुखत्वे तत्त्वज्ञानं माध्यस्थे. So this has reference to human psyche. So there is only one woman in front of a man, and now that woman, because of moha, because of delusion, the delusion, infatuation coming to man by sighting a woman is because of avidya. Avidya karanam for moham. So that is moodhatvam avidya. That is the delusion, infatuation because of the avidya in the mind. Now, because of avidya, there will be moham. But if the chitta is infested with dvesha, then there is dukkham. There is a sadness or sorrow by sighting that woman. It is because the mind or chitta is infested with dvesha. Dvesha karane dukkham. Because of the dvesha in the mind, that same woman becomes dukkha karanam. She gives torment. She gives dukkham. Now, in case the chitta has overcome with raga, the attachment, raga, then there is sukha karanam. The same woman, same perception, the same sight becomes sukha karanam. He gets pleasure and delight and happiness. Now, when the mind is infested by tattva jnanam, infested by the ethos of philosophy, then there is audasinyatvam or audasinyam. So the mind is neutral because of a philosophical ethos subsuming and permeating the chitta. So this is also example of anyatva karanam, because one is getting deluded, other one is getting sad, the other one is getting happy, and yet another one is becoming neutral. So the anyatva karanam is to be found in avidya, raga, dvesha, and tattva jnanam, wisdom, spiritual wisdom. So they will separate the effect. So this is how the anyatva karanam is discussed by Vyasa. And then he comes to Dhruti karanam, the last one, the ninth one, Dhruti karanam, supportive cause. Now how is this explained? Dhruti karanam shariram indriyanam. How is this body? Body is constituted by indriyas. You remove all indriyas from this body, the body is not there. It is not sustained. So indriyas sustain the bodiness. The panche jnanendriyas for shabda sparsha rupa rasa gandha, Uh, the indriyas are sustaining a life, form of life, or a living creature is nothing but it is indriyas. And you should know that the tactile organ is all over the body. You know where are the visual organs? They have a spot location in the face. Where are the auditory organ? They have a spot location in the sides of the face. Where is the olfactory organ? It has a side. It is a location, spot location below the eyes and above the mouth. Where is the gustatory organ of taste? It is below the nose and above the chin in the mouth. But where is the tactile organ? Sparshendriya, it is all over the body. Apada talamastaka. So usually one fails to cognize that sparshendriya is all over the body. No part of the body is without sparshendriya. So that's Dhruti Karanam explained. Then he gives another example. Tanicha tasya. Similarly, Panchabhabhutani Shariranam Tanicha Parasparam Sarvesham. The Mahabhutas are sustaining body, and the Mahabhutas are mutually sustaining each other. So that's how Dhruti Karanam is to be understood, or the supportive cause is to be understood. And then Vyasa further opens out with an ecological view. Tairyajau manusha daivatani cha paraspararthatvat ityeva navakarnani. So he says Pashu, Manusha, Devata, that is subhumans, humans, and superhumans, the celestials, they are all mutually sustaining each other. This is the marvelous piece of philosophical dimension that we get in Adhyatma. Like you sustain the God and God sustain you is what Bhagavad Gita has told us. So we are mutually sustaining each other. The subhumans are sustained by us, they are sustaining us. We are sustaining the deities, they are sustaining us. So, Tairyaga, Manusha, Daivata, these three kinds of living beings, they are mutually sustaining each other. So he says this is how the 9 karanas are to be understood. And as I just now quoted that Bhagavad Gita, that man sustains the deities and deities sustain the man, mutually sustaining each other, the whole creation is on. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayantaha shreya param avapsyatha. Bhagavad Gita 3.11. So there is nothing like dependence and independence. There is interdependence. So this dimension in philosophy is portrayed in that verse of Bhagavad Gita that we otherwise speak of somebody is dependent, somebody is independent. I am dependent, I want to become independent. Someone should become independent, someone should become dependent. We think only there are two relationships, which is a very materialistic view and very faulty view. That is not the reality. Dependence and independence is not the reality. The reality is interdependence. And philosophy tells us about the reality that it is all interdependence in creation. In all our social structure, there is interdependence. Nobody is master, nobody is slave, nobody is independent, nobody is dependent. There is interdependence. So we think servants depend upon us as masters. We as masters, we think servants depend upon us, but we understand when the servants go on strike, how helpless we become. We also depend on them. So that's the paraspara avalambitvam, parasparavalambanam. This is the concept that comes in Bhagavad Gita. So that means that's also a dhruti karanam. We sustain subhumans, subhumans sustain us. We sustain deities, deities sustain us. And mutually we are sustaining each other. So that's how he has discussed the causation aspects, causation factors, which is so important in philosophy. As I say, in material science, you will just see what is the material cause and then what is the outcome of it. So that is material approach. But beyond material, there is something, and there in philosophy we require different sets of causes. And that's why the 9 kinds of causes were introduced in course of this sutra, where Ashtanga Yoga is said to be coming by 2 ways. Ashtanga Anushtanam as cause in 2 ways with 2 kinds of effects. And therefore, Vyasa has discussed 9 kinds of cause-effect relationships. Then he says, in metaphysical inquiry, philosophical inquiry, inquiry into realities, Tani cha yatha sambhavo padarthantareshu api yojyani. So you should start applying and identifying the relationship to be student of philosophy and student of metaphysics as to what kind of cause is something from which some effect is turned out. Everywhere it need not be material cause turning out the effect. There are so many other causes which turn out, and that's why even in physics they discuss about material cause, instrumental cause, coefficient cause, incidental cause. So many causes do come in the light of reality of life. And here 9 kinds of causes are mentioned. The physics or physical sciences, materialistic sciences have only identified material cause, instrumental cause, incidental cause, coefficient cause. But here there are 9 kinds of causes. So that's the interesting thing which we find in the commentary on the sutra. Anyway, ultimately he says, Yoganga Anushtanam tu dvividam karanatva labhate iti. Yoganga Anushtana comes in 2 ways. And of course we have discussed that very often. Now it is to be noted here that by Yoganga Anushtanam, when the Ashuddhi Kshaya takes place, Karma Vasana, Papa Vasana, Klesha Vasana, these are mitigated or enfeebled or neutralized. And then Jnanodaya. Resultantly, there is Jnanodaya. Because of Ashuddhi Kshaya, there is Jnanodaya. Now, this also has to be understood in the light of this sutra. Now, it is because of this efficacy of Ashtanga Yoga, because elsewhere we do go for our purifications, we don't become wise. You take everyday bath, you don't become wise. You clean your face, you don't become wise. You clean your body, you don't become wise. You are clean, you are not wise necessarily. So, Yoganga Anushtanam works in a unique way that it removes the dirt in the form of Karma Vasana, Papa Vasana, Klesha Vasana, And that is why the Yoga Shastra has been extolled in scriptures. And they have gone quite ecstatically in praise of yoga. This you will come across if you look into the science Shastras, Itihas, Puranas, Upanishads, wherever yoga has been discussed. They go all out in praise of Yoga Shastra, Yoga Sadhana, Yoga Anushtanam, Yoganga Anushtanam, because nothing works like this. The point is, it has been extolled for this particular reason that there is Ashuddhikshaya and then Jnana-dipti. Anywhere elsewhere, Ashuddhikshaya doesn't give rise to Jnanam, but here it does. So, I recall here Kathopanishads. Nachiketas, when he goes to Yama in seeking of Brahma Vidya, now he there, for in his Brahma Vidya, what is called a Nachiketasa Vidya, there is yoga. It is by yoga that Nachiketasa Vidya fructifies or actualizes. Now, Kathopanishad 2.3.18, you come across that passage. Yama, Mrityu, the Lord of Death, he says this. What does he say? Mrityuho prokta nachiketo atha labdva vidyam etam yoga vidhim chakritsnam. Yoga vidhi is only the way to attain what you are seeking. Bala prapto virajo abhuta vimrityu. What are you going to attain? Viraja, avikaraha, avikaravastha. Then abhut, that is Brahma prapti. And vimrityu, vigata mrityu, you will go past death. You will conquer death. So unusual things happen because of yoga. And so there is that reference to yoga vidhi in Yama's instruction to Nachiketas. So it's called Nachiketa Agni Vidya. That's a Brahma Vidya, one of the Brahma Vidyas. There are about 35 Brahma Vidyas, and one of those is Nachiketa Agni Vidya, which finds reference or gets mentioned in Kathopanishad. And therefore, Mrityu Deva, Yama Devata himself is giving Yogopadesham to Nachiketas. What does he say there? Tam yogam iti manyante, that is called yoga. Tam yogam iti manyante, what is it? Sthiram indriya dharanam. Sthira indriya dharanam is yoga. Baihendriya, antarendriya, abhyantarendriya, all these organs, when they are steadied, that is yoga. So, tam yogam iti manyante sthiram indriya dharanam apramasta tada bhavati, etc. is his description. And then defining yoga in barest few terms in 2.3.10 and 11. Yada hi panchavitishthante jnanani manasa sah buddhischa na vicheshtati tamahu paramam gatim tam yogam iti manyante sthira indriya dharanam apramattas sada bhavati yogo hi prabhavapya yoho. So, yada hi panchavitishthante jnanani manasa sah, the pancha jnanendriyas with all vrittis of manas and buddhi, when they are restrained, that is supreme state. And therefore, yoga is chirayindriya dharanam. And when the yogi is apramatta, without any slightest heedlessness, when the yogi practices, he attains the supreme. Yogo hi prabhavapya yo. So, Kathopanishad gets mentioned, rather mentions the yoga if you want to have any resource for yoga in very Upanishads, because some of the Vedantins are more affiliated and they are more close to Upanishads. They want everything in Upanishads. So here comes the mention of yogam. Anyway, Shvetashvatara Upanishad has a mention of yoga. So one can look into the Shvetashvatara Upanishad also. There are a set of yoga Upanishads which mentions yoga. Many Upanishads have extolled yoga. Bhagavad Gita itself has one chapter dedicated to this yoga, and all its chapters are called yoga. So yoga gets mentioned in Bhagavad Gita Upanishads. And in order to take the wisdom of Upanishads, which is not available to everyone, it is privileged ones who are having access to Vedopadesham. Not all have Vedopadesham. Now, since the others should be getting whatever is in Vedas, then we have Itihas, Purana, and Smritis. So they have brought that Vidya of Upanishads, Vidya of Vedas, the Jnanam of Vedas to everyone on the lowest rung through Smriti, through Itihasa Puranam. So it is point to be noted that no Itihasa Puranam is without Yogopadesham, Yoga Nirupanam. There is some mention of yoga in all these texts without exception. That is because of the purport of yoga, import of yoga, importance of yoga, the greatness of yoga. So I will cite just few examples here where you will come across yoga getting mentioned. So let's commence here with Kurma Puranam Uttarardha. There is a topic called Yoga Mahatmya Nirupanam. In Purma Puranam, you get the mention in the later part of it, Uttarardha. And the chapter is called Yoga Mahatmya Nirupanam, describing greatness of yoga. So you get this quotation there, Ataha param pravakshyami yogam param durlabham yenatmanam prapashyanti bhanumanta viveshwaram. Bhanumantam, it is like sun. The yogam is param durlabham. It is not easily attainable. And once it is attained, one becomes effulgent like sun. Yenatmanam prapashyanti yogagni dahate kshipram ashesham papa panjaram. Yogagni daheta kshipram, dirt. Ashuddhikshaya, dahate, burns out. Ashesha papa panjaram, and then absolutely neutralizes papam. Prasannam jayate jnanam sakshat nirvana siddhidam. And then you get prasanna jayate jnanam, that knowledge which gives the bliss to chitta and which is also sakshat nirvana siddhidam. That jnanam which directly gives the kaivalyam, actually gives the kaivalyam, that is yogam. योगात् संजायते ज्ञानम ज्ञानात् योग प्रवर्तते योग ज्ञान अभियुक्तस्य प्रसीदति महेश्वरः. From yogam you get jnanam, from jnanam you get yoga. So there's a connection. The jnanam means adhyatma jnanam, atma jnanam. From yoga you get atma jnanam, from atma jnanam you get yoga. So there is an escalator, the form of yogam and jnanam. Yoga jnanam abhiyuktasya prasidati maheshwaraha. And yoga and jnana together will divulge Maheshwara, the supreme deity. So this comes in Kurma Puranam. It is called Pashupasha Vimoksha Yoga Varnanam. Pashupasha Vimoksha. So bondage breaking yogam. And you get that description in 3 verses in that chapter. 1, 2, 3 verses there. So that is about reference to yoga in Kurma Puranam. Agni Samhita. Agni Samhita clearly says yoga itself and only is Jnana Karanam. This Jnana, spiritual Jnana, doesn't come without yogam. Yogam is only way, exclusive way to get Jnanam. So also Dharma Karanam. So Agni Samhita is quite emphatic in mentioning that yoga gives Jnanam, yoga gives Dharma. So yoga is going to bestow both the things, Dharma and Jnana. And it is therefore described as Paramatapa. Yoga is the supreme kind of austerity, and the Satatabhyasa of yoga is also advocated. It mentions clearly there must be Satatabhyasa and not with interruptions. And then it says, what gives pace to yoga, what accelerates yoga is mantra anushtanam. And the yajna anushtanam. So that's how the yoga gets described in Atri Samhita. So verses in Atri Samhita are yogat samprapyate jnanam, yogat dharmasya lakshanam, yogat tapogneyam tasmat yuktam samabhyaset. Nacha tīvreణ tapasa na swadhyayir nachai jasa gatim tapasa dvija shakta yogat saprapnu vitam. So that's how it describes yoga in Atri Samhita. Then coming to Linga Puranam, Sarvartha Jnana Nishpatti Atmano Yoga Uchyate Ekagrata Bhavet Chaiva Sarvadatat Prasadataha. योग शब्देन निर्वाणम माहेशम पदमुच्यते तस्य हेतु ऋषे ज्ञानम ज्ञानम तस्य प्रसादता. ज्ञानेन निर्दहेन पापम निरुद्धम विषयान् सदा निरुद्ध इंद्रिय वृत्तेस्तु योग सिद्धि भविष्यति. So the process of yoga is described. Sarvartha jnana nishpatti atmano yoga uchyate. Atma getting that Sarvartha Jnanam, that is called yoga. Ekagrata bhavet chaiva, then there is ekagrata for prasadam. Yoga shabdena nirvanam. Yoga shabda itself is implying nirvanam, and mahesha padam, the supreme padam. And tasya hetu rusher jnanam, jnanam tasya prasadata. The rushi jnanam is outcome of yoga and the prasada thereof. And jnana destroys the papam, and all the objects get away from the mind, and therefore the niruddha state of yoga comes up. So this is how Linga Purana mentions And it has a chapter called Ashtanga Yoga Yukta Shivaradhana Vidhi. How to worship Shiva with Ashtanga Anushthan. So that is what is mentioned there, and that's how Linga Purana mentions the Ashtanga Yoga. Then Bhavishya Purana has a chapter called Surya Yoga Mahatmyam. So it describes something, that yoga which is called Surya Yogam. Samasta Vritti Sambrodhat Kaivalyam Pratipadakam. See, this is yoga. Samasta Vritti Sambrodhat. Sampurna Vritti Nirodham. That is Kaivalya Pratipadakam. That will give Kaivalyam. Naranam Upakaraya Yoga Shastrani Chakrire. So for wellness, well-being, absolute, for mankind, Yoga Shastra has come up. So that's how it gets mentioned in Bhavishya Purana. Then Brahma Puranam. Idanim Bruhi Yogam Cha Dukkha Samyoga Bheshajam Yam Viditva Avyayam Tatra Yunjamaha Purushottamam Yogam Vakshyami Bho Vipra Shrunudva Bhavanashanam Yam Abhyasat Apnuyat Yogi Moksham Param Durlabham. So the Rishi says in that Brahma Puranam that yoga is being mentioned, which is Dukkha Sanyoga Bheshajam. It is medicine to really end all sorrows. Bheshajam means medicine. It is medicine for Bhava Roga. And by yoga you attain Purushottama as well. The supreme attainment comes by yoga. And therefore the sage says, listen to yoga that I am giving you, which is for Bhavanashanam, ending all bondage. And by practice of it, the yogi attains the supreme, which is moksham. So this is Brahma Puranam, chapter 234, the verses 3 and 4. Then comes Agni Puranam as an example here. Samsara tapa mukta irthai vakshyami ashtanga yogakam brahma prakasham jnanam yoga tatraika chittata. So freedom from samsara tapa, mundane fire. One can be free from mundane parching. Ashtanga yoga is only the way for it. And also to realize the Brahman, that jnanam. By chitta ekagrata and the jnanam, I am going to mention the yoga. And that's how Agni Purana mentions it, called Yamaniyama Namaka Adhyayaha 183 in Agni Puranam, chapter 183. Finally, Narsimha Puranam, Yoga Abhyasaratasya Nashyemu Patakanicha Tasmad Yoga Paro Bhutva Dhyana Nityam Kriyantare. So he says this also gives a wonderful aspect of the ethos. Nitya Karmottara Yoga Abhyas should be done. Not to avoid the Nitya Karma, not to overlook Nitya Karma. After accomplishing Nitya Karma, Yoga Abhyas should be done on daily basis. And let me mention one from Charaka Samhita, which is the treatise on Ayurveda. There is a chapter of Yoga Vivechanam in Sharira Sthana. Yogo mokshe cha sarvasam vedanam avartanam mokshe nivrutti nishesha yogo moksha pravartaka. It is verse 136. Yoga is moksha pravartaka. Yoga gives moksha. Sarva vedanam avartanam. All vedanas, all kinds of sorrows go away. So that's how yoga gets mentioned in all those shastras, and just as an example I cited few of them. And of course ardent seeker should look into all those yoga Upanishads which are completely dedicated to subject of yoga. And then you will see how yoga is Arsha Vidya, has come from lore. It is from Vedic source that yoga has come about. So with that, we are going to end the discussion on the Sutra 2.28, which is the sutra on mentioning of Yoganga Anushtanam. The next sutra mentions what are these Ashtangas. So that will be the 2.29. So with this, we are ending the session today. And we are ending the topic that the 2.28 gave us. So, namaskar all of you.